Hey there, Crumbs here. This isn't going to be a block tutorial. I had the replays if you want to watch, and then I'm just offering this whole thing as a world download. So I hadn't messed with Basalt yet. I figured I'd give it a try, see if I can make it perform for myself. After making it, I realized you could adapt it for a simple cobblestone farm as well. So in the world download, I just have this set up so you have one on one side, one on the other. You can just replace it if you want to switch it out. But there are a couple of different components here. So the red sandstone is all for the wiring stuff for the lava. The actual pistons pushing everything around. The just regular sandstone is for the clock and the counting mechanism. So this clock's on what, 15 ticks? I initially developed it working with just observers. Then I realized you could just use repeaters. It doesn't really matter either way, I guess. But it's a 15. It's a redstone tick, 15 redstone tick clock, and a binary counter that sends a signal out to the TNT dispenser every 4th time. So the red nether brick here is for the actual TNT setup. There's a bit of a delay, and some of this is actually important. You might be able to do it a little differently, but it's important to get the timing correct for the TNT to be actually matched up with these blocks here. And the blackstone over here is the on-off mechanism. There's a lever here to basically turn the farm on or off by pushing up this block here and the observer. It completes the clock. This block completes the cycle for the clock, and this one actually activates it once. And it is important to have a half slab here, otherwise it'll activate it again when you bring it down. This part of the redstone here on blackstone is a shut-off mechanism. So whenever this hopper runs out of TNT, it'll automatically shut off the farm when it's going. And this is a safety mechanism because if it runs out otherwise, it'll push the basalt over here and it'll remove the lava. So it doesn't break like really bad, but it's annoying to replace the lava. So I figure in my survival world, I'm definitely using this. You could move this back a space, move this hopper up above the dispenser, but I like it this way. And I don't need to cut it exactly right down to the last piece of TNT. So this is the version. Well, basically this is the version that I'm building up in my own survival world. This is the one I'm going to use. I don't need anything faster. So let's take a look. And you can see the timing is pretty exact for the clock. You don't even see the basalt in here when it generates. It's immediately getting pulled out. You see the timing here by matching up the time the TNT explodes with the exact time the blocks are getting pushed. They have much lower blast resistance. Yep, you can see there just every 4th time the 2 binary counters match up, and that's when you'll shoot out the TNT. So I've used the bit and it does seem safe to turn on and off as is. That's another reason I'd be careful messing around with the timings, because you can only push these 12 blocks and then it backs up. And these are relatively blast resistant blocks here. And one thing to keep in mind for this version, because of how it works, this helps it be a little more consistent, but you do need these blocks here to actually be blast resistant. Otherwise they could potentially explode. So you can't be using like sandstone or stuff here. These blocks in here do have to be blast resistant blocks. And this down here is because in my survival world, when I initially built this up, I built the collection blocks too close, so it started blowing up. So I just added these in to see like how wide the area below it is, where you can start to place not blast resistant blocks without them being destroyed. So that's all that is. So this works in the overworld. It's nice and easy. It's simple. It's pretty safe. But after this, I figured, you know what? I bet we could do something different, especially with lava being different in the nether. And yeah, turns out we can. So we'll go into the nether and take a look at those now. So this version does basically work. If you notice in the time lapse, the outside blocks seem to go a little bit far down, but even if they do reach the push limit, which is like all the way down here, then it's still not going to break. Like it'll just like stop the last bit of lava here. It'll get pushed in. I had some issues with the lava flowing, or the timing working out exactly, because you can end up having lava sit here and just the blocks get moved back and forth and nothing happens. The lava can't go anywhere. It can't form more basalt. These pistons are here because when the lava bucket gets dispensed, these two blocks, like the lava will flow all the way over here, but then these two, the basalt blocks here, will not form unless you update something nearby, and then it updates lava, and then it starts to form again. So that's why these pistons are here. Okay, so you see that all the way across they are forming, but these two below the pistons look different because the way it just didn't update when it first flows across. So if it is actually 100%, like it doesn't actually bottom out, which seems pretty good, then it's like 129.6k an hour. But after doing this, I ended up looking online to see some other ideas and realized that you can form, so you can actually just kind of push the stuff around a bit differently from the outside in, instead of pulling everything inwards. So I then made my the next version using that. And for the TNT, I'm just dispensing it out here with a short delay, pushing it over up against the honey blocks. And then I realized I'm using honey blocks and they're not blowing up, so obviously none of this stuff has to be blast resistant either. And this farm should be something like 201,000, like 600, I think, per hour. I didn't mention on the other one, but you can move from because lava flows like 3 times as fast, you can move the clock from a 15 tick clock down to a 5 tick clock. And then basically everything else is basically the same. You need 2 ticks for the sticky pistons so they don't lose the block. And I added a block on top to make it more consistent instead of the TNT jumping around all over the place. And then there's another repeater in here. And you do have to pay attention to the repeater timings because it's important to have everything actually line up correctly, both to ensure the TNT blowing up and the basalt getting pushed happens at exactly the same time, and to make sure, well, like if it's not timed exactly correctly, when all the pistons try to cycle, they actually won't allow more lava to generate. So there's some odd stuff about like when things get updated, I guess. So you do have to be careful with the repeater timings. These are not just these are not arbitrary repeater timings. There you go. And this was the other solution. So the clock with the TNT starts immediately, and then instead of having the lava dispense that later, there's a long delay before this block gets pushed down and allows the farm to actually activate all the pistons. So that was the solution I needed, is just to change up where like the delay was within the whole control mechanism. So let's turn it on and take a look. Alright, so the clock with the binary counters is already going, TNT is going, and then the pistons start pushing. And I run this on tick warp for a while. It seems very consistent, seems reliable, doesn't seem to be a problem. So yeah, I'm happy with this design. If I were to build up a fast one, I would not go with that, which is like the middle design before I figured, you know what, let's go with this. But I just don't need 200,000 basalt per hour. So a little 24k per hour works good for me, and also the way I have it set up, like, works really well with everything I have going on. I'll show in my next Survival World episode what exactly I'm doing there. So I made a copy of this world download, updated it to 119, just a pure vanilla client. It seems to work. Like, it does actually let you render this stuff in, so I'm wondering if we can actually mess around with it or not. I think it just looks different. Oh, let me turn it off. Where am I? Yeah, 119.2 vanilla. So yeah, looks like it's good. And again, 119.2, the fast one. I tried the other one as well. It also works. So everything seems to still work fine. Things do get rendered a little bit differently, so that you actually see the block here before it gets pushed, or as it's getting pushed. But it seems like everything is Other than just that, that's the only thing I'm noticing that looks different. But otherwise it looks exactly the same. Except I have particles on. Oh, I didn't mention before, I used glowstone here to minimize the light updates from the redstone dust. I did make a quick outline of about where the items actually fall. So you can see them all in here. So I'd do something like the whole bunch of hopper minecarts going back and forth. I also didn't mention TNT efficiency. So for this one, it's about 112 blocks harvested for every TNT. And for the smaller, like 24K one, it's down to about 40 blocks harvested for each TNT, which is still more than good enough for me. I left the Basalt farm in my survival world running overnight, and used one shulker box of TNT, got not quite a double chest full of shulkers of Basalt, so it's more than good enough for what I need. If you want to figure out how to add in a duper, that's fine. I just prefer to use the proper dispensers when I'm not doing like 3D quarries or stuff like that. So that was a quick look at the world download I'm going to have set up there. I'll probably upload it now, immediately after recording, so nothing changes. You can take a look at it. So I'm here with my half burnt down netherwort farm, and a bunch of other odd crop farms, kelp farm, kelp block smelting system, and I've got a nice little setup here that I'll show in my next survival episode. So that's all for today. I hope you're having a nice sunny day wherever you are, and see you in the next one. Cheers. What? Okay.